Right Honorable Governor Stuyvesant, on behalf of the inhabitants of the town of Flushing, please accept this remonstrance, our respectful protest.
People need context to value and appreciate what we have, and the way you do that is by looking at particular chapters of history.
It began with Hudson and his well-documented 1609 voyage. He explored the river that bears his name. The settlements began in New Netherland under the auspices of the Dutch West India Company as a commercial enterprise. When the British came in, they left a lot of the Dutch laws and a lot of the Dutch institutions in place.
In tracing the development of the New York legal system, of course it starts with its Dutch origins. It starts as New Amsterdam. But the dominant influence as we move forward is with the English legal system. You have the rise of commerce early, and then you have the rise of industrialization, and you have judges and lawyers are struggling with the implications of that.
This is what our country was built upon. The judiciary is so vital to everything else that happens in society.
And to learn the way we got to where we are now, particularly in law. Sometimes you look at a rule and you say, I don't understand how this came about. But if you understood the history, you would.
I think it's impossible to examine any justice system and get any meaningful analysis of it without understanding where it came from.
It was somewhere up in that great building, that majestic and beautiful and wonderful building, that I began wondering who my predecessors were, who literally sat in this chair.
We thought that there'd be a lot of people out there who recognize that much of this is untapped.
What we try to do is take the old stuffy past, put it in context, make it alive.
To keep the public aware of the history of our courts, the history of the law of the state of New York and the city, and going back to colonial days.
Nobody else is in a position to help focus us in the way that they do on the great work of the New York courts over time.
The law is designed for the good of all. It can truly judge who is good, who is evil, who is true, and who is false.
My work with the Historical Society seems to be discovering what's in plain sight, to uncover the aspects of the court system that people often overlook. The wealth of architectural beauty that's available to people often just gets lost in the crush of daily business. And we came up with the notion of highlighting the courthouses along the Erie Canal. I mean, it turned up a wealth of historical information about the force that the Erie Canal was in the development of the country, the way it opened the West.
The restoration of the entire rotunda is a graphic example of the history of the courts, not only in our state, in our country, but history all the way back to the first idea about having law. There is no other building like this.
We have amazing pieces of architecture and amazing art within the courthouses. Part of our mission is to preserve the courthouse and to make it available to the public.
I'm Al Rosenblatt, president of our society, and I welcome you here to the third Stephen B. K. Memorial Program.
What I really love the most about the society are the programs.
They didn't get trinkets, they didn't get beads and so forth, they got axes.
The Historical Society did a program on the Dutch influence in New York, and it was an eye-opener.
We also did a program called Ladies of Legend, where we partnered with the U.S. Supreme Court Historical Society, and we took a look at early female figures in our state's history.
I think the programs that we developed were so good, they were so interesting, that the crowd started to come.
He is the major figure behind the Federalist Papers. He wrote
My goodness, a program on Alexander Hamilton, a program on the Dutch. I mean, it's just really remarkable.
What could be more rewarding than to do these kind of modern day lessons as to what history shows us?
I was first appointed by Governor.
The oral histories are personal, they're intimate, they give a particular kind of glimpse into these lives.
Certainly the views of judges, not only through their opinions, but their personal views and how they look at the judiciary, all of that is very important as an oral history in New York.
The essay contest is called the 2010 Garfinkel Essay Contest and is sponsored by the Historical Society of the Courts of the State of New York.
We provide a basic article for them to read and then provide a wide range of materials for them to consult.
Someone mentioned it earlier. What does eminent domain mean? What do you think? The value is tremendous. Since the essay contest is only open to students at two-year schools throughout the state, it really gives community college students a chance to demonstrate not only their ability to understand the law, cases, but also to demonstrate their outstanding writing ability. Take a look at question number 1.
It shows people my point of view, and I think it would be very beneficial to me and to also the organization.
The first essay competition winner was Elijah Fagan Solis, and he wrote on the Lemon Slave case.
Since the creation of the United States, New York has been an advocate for human rights in a nation where slavery was protected by the Constitution.
It's just so exciting to be thinking of new ways to look into and to promulgate the history of the courts.
It was such a great thing to see when researching this case that the New York court system is a very active third branch of government.
He has a special place in our hearts.
The Lemon and Dred Scott decisions and the underlying economic and human rights issues implicated by those cases fueled the fire to the beginning of the Civil War.
Like any society, we wanted some organ in which we could communicate periodically with the public. And Judicial Notice is not merely a newsletter to communicate programs, but has terrific articles in it.
We get our share of professional historians writing, but we get lots of amateur historians.
When you read an article like that, it makes you feel good as a New Yorker that we have a rich legacy that focused on important matters.
The Historical Society is such a fabulous vehicle to showcase the rich history of the law in New York and legal issues in general.
Well, we start, of course, with John Jay.
Alexander Hamilton,
Charles Evans Hughes,
Benjamin Cardozo,
Chancellor Kent,
Robert Jackson,
Alton Parker,
Judge Peckham,
Judith Kaye. I think of all the parts of this country, of all the places in the world, the leading legal figures in so many ways come out of the New York experience.
New York has always had a very sophisticated bench and bar. So if there's one state that you're going to study in American history, it's clearly got to be New York. The Historical Society does absolutely invaluable work because I think that it is really the leading institution in focusing people on New York State legal history.
My goodness, it's just so interesting. This idea of a historical society transcends the boundaries of the profession and the bench, transcends the historians, the people who make a profession of history, and it really does go to the everyday citizen.